This is a KitchenAid dishwasher with a clean water wash system, which is supposed to be a filterless system that you never have to clean the filter. I'll show you in this video that that's not always true and how you can access the filter in the pump housing to clean it or replace it like mine needed. These KitchenAid dishwashers with a clean water wash system don't have a standard filter like most dishwashers do. So when you're getting food residue, one of the first things you do in most dishwashers is clean the filter. This one doesn't have that. I'll put a link up above that explains how the clean water wash system works. But what it does is there's a filter inside and it spins around and all the food particles that get caught in it get removed and pumped out of the dishwasher. But mine, I think, is probably junked up with some stuff, and unfortunately, while you're never supposed to need to clean them, I think that's what I need to do with mine because it's leaving a lot of food residue particles even after the wash cycle is run. So first thing I'm going to do is remove the dishwasher, but before I even start that, I'm going to cut the power at the breaker and turn off the water. Now, when I do mine, I know that I installed it with enough length in the electrical and the hoses that I can pull it out, service it, and put it back in without having to disconnect those. Depending how yours is installed, you may or may not have the length available to pull it out with or without disconnecting. If you do need to disconnect your power, there's a junction box here that you can open up, disconnect the power again. Make sure you have the breaker turned off, and you can disconnect a hose on this side as well if you need to do that to get yours out. So I'll go about removing mine. First step is to remove these two screws from the toe kick plate on the bottom of the dishwasher. You can use that with a Phillips screwdriver or with a nut driver that fits around those screws. Next, you'll need to move these covers on the side that have the screws that mount the dishwasher to the cabinets. Depending on how yours is installed, you may also have mounting screws up here. This is a stone countertop, so I don't have mounting screws there. To remove these, you can pry these out with a knife or a flat blade screwdriver, and then put a screwdriver in and remove the screws. Next, I'm going to lower the leveling feet on the front of the dishwasher on both sides. Right here, this is a 5mm socket. If you don't have a 5mm socket, you can also fit a wrench around the foot, but a 5mm socket will be quicker. Now that the dishwasher is detached from the cabinets, I'm going to slide it out and put it on its side so I can get access to the pump at the bottom. While you do this, you'll need to be careful. Those little clips that are on the side, you need to make sure you get them out around the cabinet. So you may need to wiggle it side to side or come back and forth to get it in and out. This is the pump for the dishwasher. It's got an inlet here where the water comes in, a discharge for recirculation here that would go to the spray arms, and a discharge over here for the dirty water to go out and into the drain. So I'm going to remove this. These clamps that are installed here are not reusable. They're a special clamp. They're similar to what's used for PEX, but you can replace them with a common screw clamp. So that's what I'll use because that's what I have. If you don't have a screw clamp that's big enough, you can actually take two apart and link them together to make one bigger clamp. But I should have something that'll fit that. So I'm going to take this off, disconnect when I need to be able to remove this. There's an ear somewhere back here that tabs into the bottom of the dishwasher, and there's a rubber collar here that slips off. So we'll go ahead and get that done. I'll start by removing this clamp here. Just gonna use some pliers to open it up. Next, I'm going to remove this drain clamp and the drain line. There's some water in there, so you may want to have a bucket or some towels handy to catch the water. There's still some water in this drain. I'm going to tip the dishwasher a little bit to pour it out. I'm going to start working the pump backwards to remove it. You can see the rubber collar here is caught on the pump. That can be pried out of this housing or off the pump housing. And that's the pump right here. What we need to get to is inside here. There's some torque screws, 3 of them around, that we'll need to remove to get inside to this housing. This is a T25 torque bit driver. I'll remove the screws. 1, 2, and the third. Note there's an ear here to make sure you realign this properly coming back when you put everything back together. I imagine there's probably some more water in here, so I'm going to dump it out. You start to pry this off. So there's a collar in here, another piece that locks everything together, and you can see already that this is really gunked up. Paper will do this. If somebody put like a jar with a label on it inside the dishwasher, that will plug up this kind of filter or any dishwasher filter pretty quickly. Go ahead and remove these parts. So you can see that my filter is actually torn. I'm going to need to order a replacement part, but I'll get that ordered and get this replaced. Looks like it was overloaded with other things and it's just been destroyed. So this is my new filter. There's a stainless steel mesh here. The way this works, it spins around with the pump, and there's little wipers here that wipe off any debris. That debris then gets ejected out through this port, through the drain pump, and it's supposed to not go through. Now, you can see on mine that this metal screen was destroyed. There was a hole, so all the food particles were just going right through. If yours doesn't have a hole, you may be able to clean this. There's a snap ring here that you could remove. Take this out, brush it off, maybe hit it with some pressurized water, and get it cleaned off if you've just got a lot of debris on it, but mine was damaged. I'm going to put a new one in. I'll put a link in the description of this video to the part number for just this filter. I'll also put a link in with a part number for the entire pump unit if you need to replace the whole thing. To replace this and put the pump back together, first you're going to take this gray piece There's a radius part here, radius here, a cutout here, and a cutout here. I'm going to drop that in place. You can see a recess over here. That's where this metal, the ear on this metal ring goes in. And then next, I put the pump in place. This tab here, there's only one, goes right here in this slot. So I have that there. I can put the housing back on the pump. The pump has one tab and one spot to receive the tab. And if you put it back on right, then the 3 screw holes here will line up with the 3 screw holes in the motor. Next, I'll reattach these 3 screws. So you can see I've removed the old clamp off this rubber connection. I'm going to put a screw clamp on to replace it. I'll put a link in the description of this video to a box of screw clamps so you can order that would cover this. If you don't have a big enough screw clamp, a great trick is you can take 2 smaller screw clamps, loosen them up so that they come apart here on both of them, and then combine them into one larger screw clamp. But I have one that's big enough, so I'll put it on. You want to make sure that this can move freely on here, otherwise it's going to give you some difficulty reinstalling it. And then once I get it reinstalled, I'll spin this around to a convenient location to tighten everything up. So with that, the pump's ready to be reinstalled. I'm going to take a damp paper towel and moisten these rubber seals just to give them a little bit of lubrication to reseat. There's a metal ear on the bottom. It's going to go into this rubber grommeted spot here. That's going to secure that in place. I'm going to slide this rubber grommet into here to make the seal. And then this piece will attach over here. I'm going to reorient the screw clamp into an orientation will make it a little easier to get that tightened once I have it installed. Start by inserting the ear down here. Make sure it's in place. Now that I've got the recirculation pump hose in place, I'm going to tighten the screw clamp. Make sure that you've got all the seats fully seated and the foot fully in place. Next, I'm going to reattach the drain hose. Use a pair of pliers to the last 2 steps are to reconnect the wire harness. Probably would have been easier if I did this first, but I can do it afterwards too. All right, now I'm gonna flip the unit back over, slide it back into place, make sure I turn on the water, reconnect the power, and then I'll test it for leaks before I put the cover on the front. Now that the dishwasher's in place, I'm going to raise the leveling feet back to the original position. Next, I'll reattach the mounting screws and the caps on both sides to secure this to the cabinet. Before reattaching the cover at the bottom, I'm going to slide some paper towels underneath the pump and any of the connections I changed. What that'll do is catch any drips when I run the dishwasher and let me know whether or not I have any leaks. So once I get that under there, I'll run a quick wash cycle through it, check everything for leaks, and if there's no leaks, go ahead and put the cover back on. Did you find this video helpful? Give me a like, and you can tell me about it in the comments. If you have any questions, if you're doing this repair yourself, feel free to reach out in the comments and ask me questions. You can also subscribe to my channel for more helpful tips. Thanks.